Hello, welcome to Science for Everyone. That's right, science for everyone. Why science for everyone? Because I think everybody needs a little bit of science in their life because you can become a more informed citizen. So that's what the goal of this channel is, helping spread a little bit of science because everybody needs at least a little bit of science. Today we're going to be talking about density. So what's density? Density is what makes things float. It makes them sink. It's why hot air balloons work. It's why it's cold in your basement and hot in your attic. That's what density is. Now there's an equation for density, mass divided by volume. A lot of people have a major misconception about density, and that's if something's heavy, it will sink, and if it's light, it will float. So that's what we're going to look at today. We're going to see if we can make things float and if we can make them sink, and then we're going to talk more about density. So let's get down to business. So we have all of these cubes that have the same volume, right? If it's a cube, it's length times width times height. That's pretty easy to calculate the volume of a cube. If it was a different shape, there's lots of equations that could help you. If it has an asymmetric shape, you can use Archimedes' principle to figure out the volume. So again, density is mass over volume. So we got the volume here, but mass is not weight. So don't be confused with weight and mass being the same because they're not. A lot of people get that confused because we live on Earth, that's our experience, and weight is based off of the force of gravity. So on Earth we have a certain weight, but if we went to the moon, we would have a much lower weight, about 1/6 of our total weight on Earth. If we land on Mars eventually, our weight will be about 1/3 on Mars as what it is on Earth. So weight is based off of gravity, mass doesn't change. If you had a bowling ball on Earth and you took it to the moon and then you took it to Mars, the mass would not change, but the weight would. So mass divided by volume equals density. If you're measuring the density of a water or of a liquid, it's 1 gram per ml is the density of water. So that's kind of our standard density. Pure water has a density of 1 gram over 1 ml, 1 milliliter. Solids, it's usually grams per centimeters cubed because length times width times height. Now there's an easy way to know if something's gonna float or not. If it has a density less than 1, it's going to float. I'm going to assume that this is gonna float, but let's see. It floated. So I know that this has a density less than 1 because it's floating in pure water. Now if something sinks, the only reason it sinks is that its density is higher than 1. So I know this is gonna sink because this has a lot of mass. And yes, if it has a lot of mass, it's also heavy, and that's why people get confused. But this has a lot of mass, so I'm pretty confident it's going to sink. So confident that I'm going to put it down here because I don't want it to crack the beaker. So I know that this cube has a lot of mass compared to its volume. It has more mass than it does volume, which makes its density higher than 1. So if it's less than 1, it's going to float in pure water because again, water has a density of 1. And if it's more than 1, it's going to sink. So wait, how do heavy things still float and light things can sink? Well, that depends on changing the mass and volume for the density. So, for example, we have a cube of aluminum. There's not much water in here, but look. It sinks. Mass divided by volume, right? But if you can change the volume of the aluminum into a little boat, then you can make it float. There's several reasons why a boat will float. One of it is buoyant force, which we're not going to get into that. But another one is if you change the volume. So let's go ahead and see if my little boat will float. My little boat floated. Isn't science awesome? Science is awesome. This has been our first video ever of Science for Everyone. I hope you enjoyed it, and leave some comments, and we're gonna have lots of videos. So please subscribe, and thanks for watching.